Yeah, Hamish told me about you guys.
Right.
Hamish said, "Hey, I've heard these guys that are nowhere near as good as us." No, he said, no, he said, "I heard these guys. They're doing things that are kind of be right up our alley, right? Kind of the kind of ideas where if something came up top, it was like, yeah, we probably would play in that realm. You know, you might want to listen." So that's how I started listening.
To steal our ideas.
No, just to enjoy.
Smart. We are very good.
Just to enjoy like an 80% version.
Yeah, like your show with no budget and half the talent.
Yeah.
No, I you know, Haim was the one that said that, and I was like, and he was right, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I just love the way you guys were taking ideas to that next level of silliness, but also full commitment to an ideas like leaving this studio.
I think that's what put us on the map in the office, those ideas. Like everyone found about us when I did the walk to work thing, because like the day before he was like saying I live in the country because I live in Diamond Creek, and he was
no, I live in the city.
I was like, no, dude, it's like, and he's like, well, if you live so close, you could walk to work.
I remember that.
And I was just like, all right. I woke up at 5 a.m. the next day and just got walking to prove a point. And then at the time, we didn't think it was that much of a good bit. Like we were like, this is a lot of effort for a small
conclusion
payoff.
to the idea of like, well, of course,
and we
you
don't
have to do
fake shit either.
No.
So it was like there was parts in the walk. I'm 3 hours in. I was like, is this still an 8 or is this a soft 4? You know, I'm walking through Heidelberg going like, there's a long way to go.
Yeah, that was the other thing. It's like Haim and I just didn't fake anything.
Yeah.
Ever. And then the risk became extra high because, like, even if we were time poor or whatever, as we got older or busier and other, like, it was like, yeah, they're like, oh, maybe we just trim the edges here. Like, yeah, but if we get caught on this one,
everything's fake.
Everything's fake.
Yeah.
So that was where the stakes became way too high, where we kind of feel like we should just fake stuff early because then you would have given yourself a license. But yeah, I'll give you the greatest example. We're in Vietnam. We're doing a 350 lap race of the world's busiest roundabout on really tiny motorbikes.
Yeah.
So
easily fakeable.
Yes. My bike conks out and Hamish has 110 laps to go or something. And we're like, oh, well, we've been filming for hours anyway. We know it's only going to be an 8-minute bit. Like, let's just say you made it and do a few more laps and, you know, what's going to happen. And Haim's like, while riding, like we're kind of trying to chat to him and like
every lap, you're like, what about if we?
Yeah. He's like, no, and then his next pit stop is like, nah, I could also be a did not finish if my bike punks out. And we're like, yeah, but do we even care? Do we want to finish? He's like, no, I'm going to do this. So I sat there and watched him for another hour just do laps of this while the whole crew was sitting there going, really? And sure enough, he got it. He did his 350.
It was a great story you told us well on a podcast once. It was like that one where you were strapped together on Rove, and then Will Anderson came out the radio station and got into a cab. And what did he say?
He was like, wow, you guys really put in, or something like that. You're really committed. But yeah.
Because there's like this moment where you're just like not on camera, sitting on the side of the road strapped to each other, waiting for a cab.
Yeah, because we couldn't drive because we were strapped together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. There's so many problems with that.
And
how did you use the bathroom?
We had to sit. You had to basically squat next to each other. Like that was the hardest thing for your legs.
Hamish took a dump on Rove.
Well, I was sitting not on Rove specifically.
Not on Rove McManus. It was on the TV show.
So yeah, trying to like squat, and then because we stayed in my apartment, we put a little stool on the side of the bathroom, the toilet, so the other person could sit on the stool while the other person went. It was gross.
That sucks.
But like even sleeping was the toughest. Like you'd think, let's just try and, but this is kind of before social media was really a thing, but we gave.
You guys would go viral by word of mouth. Like
Yeah,
as a younger kid, like I would hear all the time. Because my mum loved Husey and Kate, so I never listened to your show because in the car I was only listening to Hamish and Andy. I mean Husey and Kate, but I always heard about what you guys were doing on radio, and then I would watch Rove.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so to try and make sure people would just kind of get the authenticity test going with the conjoined twins, we gave Mike apartment keys to 2 different journalists, said you can come whenever you want. And we also tried to set up like webcams, but they weren't really that big a thing then anyway. But yeah, like at 3:00 in the morning, wake up and there's cameras flashing because the journalists had come through, let themselves in, and start taking photos of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we're like, well, and then it was just, and we were just tired and stinking, and you finally got to sleep, even though you're that close to someone, and you're waking up. But there were the things we wanted to put in place to go, this is actually
that's
genuine.
better. Like that's so funny. Of like the idea of journalists at any moment being able to catch you faking makes the whole world go, well, they have to be doing it then.
Yeah, just
That's
kind
cool.
of keep trying. And I think that's the key for.
We had paparazzi following Luke the whole way there as well.
I mean, none of them showed up, but we invited them all.
But the other thing was like,
we got a few honks.
Yeah,
For like a few fans actually worked out the route we were going to take and then met us on the way.
Yeah, to make sure.
To make sure we were doing it. Fans keep us in check.
Yeah, that's great. We like the other thing that has changed massively is the print press. Like it's called Confidential now. It used to be called The Eye, back say in the Herald Sun or Daily Telly. They actually would just report on fun things. It wasn't scandalous. Like you would make the paper if you did something funny.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
But that's what people want. Like it's a feel-good thing that just makes people talk.
It would be nice if it still happens, but it doesn't. So we were lucky in that regard where they didn't have a huge marketing budget for us to begin with. And Carl and Jackie O had mandated that we were to have no advertising in Sydney because they were quite threatened by the show.
That's awesome.
And
wow, Kyle Sanderland's being ridiculous about something. That shocks me.
And so, but we were lucky
with.
because the press would write about what you were doing, and so you could sneak your way in that way, and it was also much cheaper.
So what you're saying is you could just be good. And then people will be like, "Oh, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's it." But it doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately. Those kind of articles.
Now it's just shock.
Someone will go. In fact, they're in shock if you're not selling anything. You go, "Hey, we're doing this really fun thing. Oh, what are you selling, or what's it for?" Like, oh, nothing.
Oh, well, think of just not profiting off it, and that's actually just our job. It's
exactly.
fun. Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't seem to kind of click with people these days.
That's funny.
What was the craziest one you ever did? Like the one where you're doing it? Because we often find ourselves in situations where we're halfway through the bit, like the walk or something, and you go, yeah, just how did we think of this one again? Like, what was the moment? Was it overseas or something?
We had the hardest one. I suppose might be not necessarily crazy, but when we were blind, when I was blind for 50 hours and he was deaf, and we're trying to work together, I had a full breakdown. Yeah, like full mental breakdown.
You were blind?
Yeah.
That would be worse for sure.
And just we basically I had these things put over my eyes, these patches that were kind of bespoke to my eyes, and then another blindfold over the top of that, and then Hamish got his ears filled in with this stuff and was getting music played constantly, and we did that, and we did like the last 15 minutes of the radio show, and it was kind of all fun, and then they're like, let's get you to the project, and we drove there, and we went to the project, we're on live the project, and so the adrenaline was going, and it was about an hour in. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then we got back to the car park. I just had full nervous breakdown. I just was like, I'd lost all my confidence. I just was scared everywhere I walked. I didn't, and at that point, Aim's going, "Do you want to stop?" Like, and I was like, "Nah. I just need to get home. I think if I'm home and lying down,
the traveling around in unfamiliar places that you've never been with eyes, that'd be the worst bit."
Yeah, it was just. Then they do it for all the students that are studying, medical students studying the eye, etc. They actually have this exercise where they blindfold them and see how long you can go. And the guy, when we were in there, the professor said, "Oh, look, the longest anyone's lasts is about 40 minutes. Like it just does your head in if you're not used to it." But what I found interesting about that was it became heaps easier. So the breaking point was probably 40 minutes.
Yep.
But then you got used to it. And you were like, it wasn't like the longer it went, the worse it got.
Well, you're paranoid
well,
that
it can't,
someone
because
would just...
otherwise every blind person would be insane.
Yeah, exactly. So it actually became better. I got my confidence, but yeah, I think that was the hardest.
Yeah.
You'd have to be paranoid of a sack tap or something like that, just from like an immature mate going like, "Come on."
Well, that was the thing. I was like, kind of walking around all crouched over, waiting for something to hit me, sack tap, those type of things. And Haim's like, "To stand tall, you'll be fine." But it's amazing how much we hold ourselves, and this is getting a little bit deep, but your presence and the way you present yourself actually helps with your own confidence.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I was like this the whole time, I became timid. My voice was like a lot softer when I spoke to people. For some reason, I was really going back inside my shell.
Yeah.
And then Haim said he saw it kind of grow over the next day where I was back confidence. And he said, should we have a running race? You can beat me normally when you're when you guys are open. You should be able. He goes, I'll set you up on a field. I'll set you straight and you just run and I'll run.
Scary.
And I said, yeah, okay, let's do that. And he set me up in front of a fence. And and I went bang straight into this cyclone fence.
Trust gone.
And went all the way. It was like reversed everything. I was all the way back to here, and they're all pissing themselves laughing because it's been kind of 2 days of this, and we're getting bored, and we've kind of explored all the usual stuff. But I was panic attack back to this state, and Haim was afterwards said he was feeling this.
You know what's funny?
Oh,
Hamish is like one of my comedic heroes. He's like, I'm like, I'll tell people like, oh yeah, top 3 comedic minds in Australia. And he's like, I've got a good one. Yeah. We'll make him run into a fence.
But there's nothing funnier than that. You could spend a year writing a show. You'll never write a joke funnier than your mate running into something.
Yeah, exactly.
Never.
Or slipping over, or even just falling off the stage. You're probably going to better laugh than anything else.
And you know what? I stand by it. One of the greats.
Totally.